I want to talk about something that gets under our skin, tightens our chest, and echoes in our quiet moments: the fear of losing someone we love or thought we needed. This isn't just about breakups or farewells, it's about what we believe we're worth when someone walks away. Letting go can feel like surrendering. It can feel like you've failed or that you've lost your grip. But here's the truth: letting go is not the same as giving up, and the difference is profound. When we hold on tightly, we do so because we believe that somehow, if we try harder, give more, or cling tighter, things will change. We believe that love, in its purest form, is about never letting go, even when it starts to hurt. But here's where we miss the mark: love isn't about clinging to someone or something for dear life. True love, the kind that heals, the kind that nurtures, is about holding space. And sometimes that means holding space for them to leave. Letting go is an act of grace. It's about stepping back, creating room for the other person to breathe, to grow, to change, even if that change takes them away from you. Letting go is not about quitting. It's about recognizing that we are not in control of the other person's journey. You can't carry someone else's burden, make their decisions, or convince them to walk the path you want them to walk. Giving up, on the other hand, happens when we stop caring. It's when we say, "This is too hard and I'm done." It's a form of emotional resignation where we no longer believe in the relationship, the connection, or even ourselves. It's when the fire of hope has been extinguished and we believe that nothing can change or get better. But letting go is not resignation. Letting go is a conscious decision to trust the process, trust the journey, and trust that sometimes people leave not because we weren't enough, but because their path lies elsewhere. It's also important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean you stop loving. Love doesn't always have to come with ownership. You can love someone deeply, profoundly, and still recognize that their freedom, their choices, their growth may take them far from where you hoped they would stay. Letting go doesn't erase the love you've shared, nor does it diminish the importance of that relationship. It simply means you have enough self-respect to allow things to unfold as they need to. Sometimes the hardest part of letting go is the fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of being alone, fear of change. But what if instead of fear, we saw letting go as an invitation to free both ourselves and the other person, an invitation to create space for new experiences, for new connections, for new opportunities. Letting go opens the door for new chapters. It allows you to grow in ways that holding on might never allow. When we hold on too tightly, we often become stuck in old patterns, old roles, old expectations. Letting go is the first step in letting the future in, and let's not forget the courage it takes to let go. It takes immense strength to release what we love, especially when we don't know what lies on the other side. But if we're willing to let go of the need to control, to let go of the weight of someone else's journey, we begin to free ourselves. Free to be who we are, not bound by what others need us to be. Free to welcome new relationships, new experiences, and perhaps even a deeper understanding of who we are without anyone else's reflection. Letting go, ultimately, is an act of self-compassion. It's saying to yourself, "I love you enough to set you free, and I love you enough to set me free, too." It's understanding that the relationship you held so dearly might not have been the only thing that could fulfill you. It's knowing that your worth doesn't come from keeping someone in your life. It comes from the love and care you give to yourself, no matter what others decide to do. So remember, letting go is not the same as giving up. It's about moving forward with a lighter heart, a more open mind, and a spirit that knows it's okay to release what no longer serves you. It's about trusting that, even in the absence, there's room for more, for healing, for growth, for something new. One of the most painful experiences we go through in life is the departure of someone we love, whether it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member. In those moments of loss, it's easy to internalize their leaving as a reflection of our inadequacies. We find ourselves asking, "What did I do wrong?" or "What did I lack that caused them to walk away?" But here's the truth: people leave for their reasons, not always yours. The hardest part of this reality is understanding that often their departure has nothing to do with you at all. It has to do with their own journey, their own growth, their own wounds, their own needs, things that are unique to them, things that might not be within your control. In our most vulnerable moments, we want to believe that our relationships exist in a vacuum, and that if we do everything right, things will last. But relationships don't function that way. They are complex, layered, and deeply personal. They are shaped by two individuals who bring their own histories, desires, and fears to the table. And sometimes, for reasons beyond your comprehension, people simply need to walk away. People leave because they're on a path you can't walk with them. Maybe they're figuring out who they really are, and it no longer aligns with who they were when they were with you. Maybe they're battling their own demons, demons you can't see, demons they might not even fully understand themselves. It's painful to acknowledge that someone we love might leave because they need something different, something more, or something else entirely, and it has nothing to do with how we showed up in the relationship. But here's the hard truth: when someone leaves, it's rarely about your shortcomings. It's not about whether you were good enough, kind enough, or loving enough. It's not about whether you gave them all your energy, your attention, your heart. Sometimes it's simply because they were at a different place in their life than you were, and their path veered in another direction. And while we may never fully understand why they left, we have to honor the fact that their reasons, their timing, and their needs are valid. We often want to take ownership of someone's departure. It's natural. We ask ourselves, was I too much? Or was I not enough? We convince ourselves that if we had been different, more patient, more forgiving, more independent, maybe the relationship would have lasted. But the truth is, sometimes the pieces just don't fit, even when we try to force them, and that's okay. It's hard, but it's okay. We also have to realize that people leave for their own personal growth. A person might leave because they've outgrown the relationship, because they've discovered new parts of themselves that no longer align with who they were when they were with you. Growth is a messy, sometimes painful process. It often means leaving behind parts of our lives, parts that were once significant but no longer serve us. And when someone chooses to leave, it's because they are making space for that personal evolution, whether we agree with it or not. Another reason people leave is that they might be searching for something outside of the relationship, something they feel they can't find within it. This doesn't mean the relationship was broken or unworthy. It means they need to explore something new to understand themselves better. This could be a career, a new place, or a new sense of independence that they don't feel they can achieve while staying in the relationship. And while that can feel like rejection, it's not a rejection of you. It's a reflection of their internal need for self-discovery and self-actualization. Sometimes, too, people leave because they're simply afraid of vulnerability, of commitment, of intimacy. It's not that they don't care about you or that you weren't enough. It's that they might not be ready to face the deep emotional work required in a relationship. They may fear opening up in ways that would force them to confront their own fears, anxieties, or traumas. And while it's incredibly painful to be on the receiving end of that, we must remember that this is their fear to carry, not ours. And perhaps most importantly, people leave because they have to. Sometimes leaving isn't a choice. It's an instinct, a gut feeling that they need to step away in order to protect themselves, or because they've reached a point in their life where they must move on. It's a heartbreaking realization that someone's departure may have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with their internal state and their understanding of what they need at this moment in time. Understanding that people leave for their reasons, and not always because of something you did or didn't do, allows you to stop blaming yourself for their choices. It allows you to honor the fact that relationships are a two-way street, and while you have control over your actions, you cannot control someone else's decisions or their emotional growth, and that's incredibly freeing. So, instead of looking inward and asking, "What did I do wrong?" try asking, "What did I learn?" What can you take away from the relationship to better understand yourself and grow into the person you are meant to become? The pain of loss is a teacher, not a verdict, and the only way to truly heal is to accept that the reasons someone leaves are theirs to carry, not yours to own. People leave for many reasons. Some of those reasons we will never fully understand. But we can trust that their departure is not a reflection of our worth, our love, or our efforts. Sometimes people leave because their path has diverged from ours, and there is no amount of holding on that could ever bring them back. And that's okay. In the end, what matters most is that we continue to love ourselves, continue to show up for our own growth, and continue to move forward with the understanding that our worth is not defined by someone else's ability to stay. One of the most difficult and confusing things we face in relationships is the sense of loss. We often find ourselves grieving something we didn't fully have, something we thought was ours but slipped away. And in those moments, it can feel like the universe has taken something precious from us. But here's the truth: you can't lose what was never fully yours. At first, this may sound harsh. After all, if someone has been in your life, if you've shared time, energy, emotions, and moments together, how can they not be yours in some way? It's understandable to feel like a part of you has been taken. But what we must recognize is that true ownership in relationships doesn't come from time spent together, shared experiences, or the intensity of emotions felt. Ownership comes from mutual commitment, trust, and the deep, unspoken understanding that two people are both giving and receiving freely without holding back. When we enter into a relationship, especially one that is uncertain or not fully reciprocal, we sometimes create expectations that things will last or that the other person is as emotionally invested as we are. We imagine a future that aligns with our hopes, desires, and vision of the relationship. But sometimes we forget one crucial thing. A relationship, in its truest form, can only exist when both people are equally committed to it. If one person holds back, if they're emotionally distant, if they haven't fully given themselves to the relationship, then the bond you share with them was never fully yours to begin with. It's hard to accept, but the truth is that you cannot lose something that never truly belonged to you. You can't lose someone who was never fully emotionally available. You can't lose a relationship that was built on a foundation of illusion rather than mutual understanding and connection. This doesn't diminish the feelings you had or the significance of the time you shared. What it means is that the relationship was incomplete, or perhaps not fully aligned with what you needed or wanted. And while it might be painful to admit, understanding this reality gives you the space to heal. Many times we grieve over people and relationships that were never fully meant for us in the first place. We grieve the idea of the relationship, the potential of what could have been, not the actual bond that existed. We grieve the vision we created in our minds of a future with someone who may not have shared that vision. And that grief is real, it's valid, and it deserves to be felt. But it's also important to recognize that we're grieving something that wasn't entirely ours. And in doing so, we can release it with less self-blame, less guilt, and less sorrow. There is also an inherent freedom in this understanding. The idea that you can't lose what was never fully yours allows you to release the attachment to something that was only partially formed. This realization helps you move forward without holding on to the ghost of a relationship that wasn't truly grounded in mutuality or commitment. It frees you to stop trying to revive something that was never meant to last. When we hold on to things that were never fully ours, we limit our ability to welcome what truly belongs to us. what is meant for us. We become stuck in a loop of longing for something that wasn't built to stay, and we close ourselves off to the possibilities that lie ahead. It's also vital to remember that love or any relationship cannot be forced. When someone isn't fully present, isn't fully invested, or isn't emotionally available, there is no amount of effort, love, or understanding that will make them yours. You can give your all, you can invest deeply, but unless they are meeting you halfway, the relationship is always one-sided. And while that may feel painful, the truth is that a relationship built on unbalanced energy will never flourish into something that truly nourishes both people. You can't lose what was never meant to grow in the first place. This principle applies not only to romantic relationships, but also to friendships, family dynamics, and even our careers. We often hold on to things we've invested in, hoping that with enough effort, they will come around or work out. But the reality is, if something or someone isn't fully aligned with your values, your needs, and your sense of self, it will never truly be yours in the way that is fulfilling. The effort we put into something that isn't wholly ours may be admirable, but it doesn't guarantee that what we hope for will come to fruition. And sometimes that's where we need to shift our perspective. Think about the relationships where we hold on too tightly, even when the other person is no longer emotionally available. We may cling to the past, to the idea of who they were, or to the belief that somehow we can bring them back. But those relationships were never fully aligned, and by holding on to them, we deny ourselves the opportunity to find something deeper, something more real, and something that truly reciprocates what we give. Understanding that you can't lose what was never fully yours also means embracing the idea that you are worthy of relationships that are built on equal footing. You are worthy of love, friendship, and connection that are free from manipulation, free from half efforts, and free from the struggle of trying to hold onto something that is slipping through your fingers. When we let go of what wasn't fully ours, we make space for the relationships that truly belong to us, the ones that are rooted in mutual respect, deep trust, and unspoken understanding. So, in the end, this is an invitation to release the things that weren't ever meant for you, to stop grieving over what wasn't fully given, and to free yourself from the weight of trying to claim what was never truly yours. It's a reminder that what is meant for you will not pass you by, and the people, the relationships, and the experiences that are meant to stay will do so because they were never partially yours. They were always fully yours from the start. One of the most deeply ingrained beliefs we carry in relationships is the idea that our worth is somehow tied to the people who choose to stay in our lives. We find ourselves clinging to the idea that if someone stays, it means we are worthy of love, acceptance, and value. If they leave, however, we might feel as though we've failed or that we weren't enough. But here's the truth: your worth is not measured by who stays. This is a powerful and liberating truth to embrace. When we tie our self-worth to the presence of others, we are placing ourselves in a vulnerable position, allowing our sense of value to depend on forces we cannot control. This means we are always at the mercy of someone else's choice to remain. The problem with this belief is that it assumes someone else's decision about us can determine our value, and that's not true. Think about it. How many times have we evaluated our self-worth based on a relationship that ended? Maybe someone walked away, and we immediately began questioning ourselves. Was I not good enough? Or what did I do wrong? The painful truth is that we often internalize someone else's departure as a reflection of our inadequacy, when in reality, their decision to leave is about their own journey, their own needs, and their own emotional readiness, or lack thereof. It's not a reflection of who we are, it's a reflection of where they are in their life, and yet we let their leaving define us. Our worth, however, is not determined by external forces. It's not determined by how many people love us, how many people stay, or how many people approve of us. It's not even about how much we give in relationships or how much we sacrifice. Your worth is inherent, rooted in who you are as a human being, independent of others' decisions or opinions. It is a birthright, a constant, and it cannot be altered by external circumstances. When we realize this, it is transformative. We can begin to let go of the need for validation from others. We no longer need to prove ourselves or beg for someone to stay. We no longer need to perform in relationships to earn someone's love or approval. True self-worth comes from within, from knowing that we are worthy, loved, and whole regardless of anyone's behavior. This doesn't mean that we don't value our relationships, that we don't want people to stay, or that we don't care about the bonds we share with others. It simply means that we don't base our entire identity on whether someone else chooses to be part of our lives. Our worth is not tied to what we can give or do for others either. Society teaches us that we must always be giving our time, our energy, our love, our support to feel valuable. It pushes the narrative that our worth comes from how much we serve or how much we sacrifice. But this is a dangerous mindset. If we give so much of ourselves that we lose sight of who we are left with nothing but an empty shell, hoping for validation from others. Your worth is not dependent on how much you give away. It's not about being someone's savior or solving everyone else's problems. Your value lies in your essence, in the fact that you are enough, simply because you exist. Think about the people you've loved and lost, whether through friendship, romance, or family. It's easy to feel like their leaving is a reflection of your inadequacy, but the truth is, people leave for many reasons that have nothing to do with you. People leave because they are on a different path, because they have different needs, or because they are unable to meet you where you are. When they leave, it doesn't mean you didn't give enough, love enough, or try hard enough. Their leaving says nothing about your worth. It says something about them, about where they are in their lives, and about the dynamic between you both. And it's important to remind yourself of that because it will free you from the cycle of self, blame, and doubt. Even in the absence of others, your worth remains constant. It doesn't change with circumstances or situations. In fact, some of the most powerful moments of self-discovery and personal growth come when we stand alone. When we no longer rely on the presence or approval of others to define us, we begin to uncover the truth about who we really are. Your worth is not dependent on anyone else's presence or absence. It's about embracing your own uniqueness, your strengths, your flaws, and your potential. We must also remember that our worth is not a currency that can be earned or lost. It is not something that can be taken from us by someone else's actions. It is a constant, unshakable foundation beneath our feet. The presence of others in our lives is not what gives us value. It is our ability to show up fully as ourselves, to honor our own needs, to love ourselves first and foremost, that determines our worth. When we stop measuring our worth based on external validation, we can show up authentically in our relationships. We can give and receive love freely, without the need to prove ourselves or to hold on to relationships out of fear. We can give others the freedom to leave, to go their own way, without fearing that their departure will diminish who we are. And in doing so, we create space for the right people, the ones who will love us without needing to change us, the ones who will stay not because they have to, but because they want to. And even if they leave, we will know that we are still whole. Our worth is not defined by their choice to stay. It's defined by our own ability to stay true to ourselves, to honor our boundaries, to love ourselves unconditionally. Your worth is not dependent on how others see you, how many people stay in your life, or how much you can give to others. It's about knowing who you are, being unapologetically you, and standing strong in your own truth. You are worthy, not because of anything you do, but because of who you are simply, beautifully enough. Pain is an inevitable part of life, especially in our relationships. Whether it's the ache of losing someone you love, the disappointment of unreciprocated feelings, or the heartache of seeing a bond you valued unravel. Pain has a way of marking the milestones of our lives. And in those moments of emotional distress, it's easy to internalize that pain as a sign of failure. We often find ourselves questioning where we went wrong, wondering if we weren't enough, or even thinking that the pain somehow means we have failed. But the truth is, pain is not a mark of failure. It is proof that you cared. Think about it for a moment. Pain is the emotional residue left behind when something that mattered deeply to us is either lost or challenged. Whether it's a friendship that fades, a love that dissipates, or a dream that crumbles, the pain we feel is directly tied to the depth of our investment, our connection, and our care. It's proof that we gave ourselves fully, that we were open to vulnerability, and that we allowed ourselves to truly love, to truly invest in someone or something. When we feel the sting of heartache, we often convince ourselves that we did something wrong, that somehow our effort wasn't enough or that we were lacking in some way. We mistakenly equate pain with failure. We assume that if we were better, stronger, more patient, or more understanding, we would have avoided the pain. But in reality, pain is simply the byproduct of caring deeply. It is not a signal of inadequacy, but a testament to your humanity. When we love or care about something or someone, we open ourselves up to the possibility of both immense joy and immense pain. To love is to make ourselves vulnerable. The more we care, the greater the potential for both happiness and sorrow. But this duality isn't a failure, it's a natural part of life. The fact that we feel pain at all is a sign that we gave our hearts to something, that we were invested. When things go awry, we might feel like we've failed, but we must shift our perspective and realize that our pain is a reflection of our capacity to love and care, not an indication of defeat. Think about the moments in your life where you have experienced pain, whether it was the end of a relationship, the loss of a friendship, or the disillusionment of a dream falling apart. In those times, what truly hurt wasn't that you weren't good enough. It was that you cared. You cared enough to be vulnerable, enough to give without reservation, enough to invest your time, energy, and emotion into something or someone. And while that investment didn't always work out the way you hoped, the fact that you felt pain means you didn't hold back. You didn't guard yourself from experiencing all that life had to offer, both the highs and the lows. This is not failure. This is being fully human. Pain is proof that you were brave enough to give of yourself, to risk your heart, to care deeply. It's a sign that you were willing to show up without holding back, even if the outcome wasn't what you expected. When we think of pain this way, it becomes a reminder of our strength, not our weakness. It becomes a mark of our courage to care despite the risk of loss or disappointment. Moreover, pain teaches us something incredibly valuable. It teaches us the depths of our own emotional range. Without pain, we would never fully understand the capacity of joy, love, or connection. Life would be flat and unvaried. It's the contrast between joy and pain that makes the beauty of life so profound. Pain helps us to appreciate the moments of happiness more deeply. Without the lows, the highs would feel shallow. Pain is the shadow to our light, the balance to our happiness, and the teacher that shows us how deeply we are capable of feeling. It's also important to note that pain doesn't necessarily mean something is broken or wrong. Relationships, friendships, and experiences evolve. People change, circumstances shift, and sometimes the people or things we invest in no longer fit who we are or who they have become. But that doesn't mean that any of it was a failure. Life is a series of changes, and sometimes the pain we experience is simply the result of growth, either on our part or on theirs. The fact that we feel sorrow when something ends simply reflects that we experienced something real. Pain is proof that we experienced a connection, an emotional exchange, and a bond that was once meaningful. So, if you find yourself facing pain today, whether it's from a relationship that ended, a dream that was dashed, or a disappointment that broke your heart, please remember this. This pain does not mean you failed. It means you cared. It means you allowed yourself to be open, vulnerable, and invested. It means that you didn't play it safe, that you chose to experience life in all its emotional depth, and that you were willing to risk everything for the possibility of love, connection, or fulfillment. And while the pain may feel unbearable at times, know that it will eventually fade. Over time, as you process and heal, you'll begin to see that the pain was a necessary part of the process. It's the natural aftermath of caring deeply. And as you move through the healing process, you'll come to appreciate that the pain was not a sign of failure, but a testament to your strength, your ability to love, and your willingness to be vulnerable. It is proof that you were willing to show up, to risk, and to experience all the beauty and heartbreak life has to offer. Pain is not failure. It is the proof that you gave a part of yourself to something meaningful. It is a sign that you lived fully, loved deeply, and that you were not afraid to care, even when the risk of pain was present. And that, in itself, is an incredible achievement. One of the most powerful forces that can hold us back in life is the fear of loss. Whether it's the fear of losing a loved one, a relationship, a job, or even a dream we've held close to our hearts. That fear can often become an invisible chain that keeps us stuck in place, afraid to move forward. We become so paralyzed by the thought of losing what we have that we don't recognize how much it is limiting our growth, our potential, and our freedom. Fear of loss can keep you in chains, preventing you from living the full, authentic life you are capable of. It's natural to be afraid of losing things that are important to us. We cherish relationships, we invest in our careers, and we build our lives around certain goals and dreams. The thought of losing any of these things can trigger a deep sense of anxiety and fear. But what we often fail to realize is that this fear can be so consuming that it starts to shape our behavior, our decisions, and the way we show up in the world. We might find ourselves holding on too tightly, trying to control everything around us, or living in a constant state of anxiety about the what-ifs. What we don't understand in those moments is that by allowing fear of loss to dominate our lives, we end up losing something even more precious: our peace of mind, our sense of self, and our ability to fully embrace the present moment. Fear makes us cling to things we believe are ours, but in doing so, we create emotional prisons that keep us from experiencing life fully. We stop taking risks, we stop growing, we stop loving freely because we are too afraid of the possibility of loss. And in that fear, we find ourselves stuck, unable to move forward because we are constantly looking over our shoulders, worrying about what we might lose next. Think about it. How many times have you avoided making a decision or taking a step forward because you feared losing something? Maybe you stayed in a job that didn't fulfill you because you were afraid of losing the security it provided. Maybe you stayed in a relationship that no longer served you because you feared the loss of companionship or love. Maybe you hesitated to pursue your dreams because you were afraid of the potential losses: loss of comfort, loss of stability, loss of approval from others. The truth is, fear of loss can cause us to settle for lives that are less than what we deserve. We can become so focused on preserving what we have that we forget to live in a way that aligns with who we truly are. We become trapped by our fear, unable to take the necessary steps toward what could be a better, more fulfilling future. Instead of embracing change and growth, we fight against it. We try to protect ourselves from the natural ebb and flow of life, mistakenly thinking that we can hold on to everything forever. But here's the truth: loss is a natural part of life. It is inevitable, even though it can be painful. We cannot control when or how it will happen, nor can we prevent it. What we can control is how we respond to it. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by the fear of loss, we will never experience the full range of what life has to offer. We will remain stagnant, waiting for the inevitable to happen, and in doing so, we miss out on opportunities to grow, evolve, and embrace new possibilities. The fear of loss also distorts our perspective on what we truly value. When we fear losing something, we often begin to prioritize that thing over everything else. We might cling to unhealthy relationships, toxic work environments, or unfulfilling dreams simply because we are afraid to let go. But this fear blinds us to what is truly important in our lives. It keeps us stuck in situations that drain our energy, diminish our self-worth, and prevent us from experiencing the fullness of life. Let's take relationships as an example. The fear of losing a loved one can sometimes make us hold on too tightly, trying to control every aspect of the relationship. We might avoid confrontation, suppress our needs, or change ourselves to keep the peace because we fear the consequences of conflict, of loss. We might stay in relationships that are no longer healthy or fulfilling simply because we cannot bear the thought of being alone. In these situations, the fear of loss keeps us in chains, preventing us from creating the space for healthier, more authentic connections to form. But loss doesn't have to be a negative experience. In fact, it can be a powerful catalyst for growth and change. When we let go of what is no longer serving us, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a belief, we make room for something new. We create space for new experiences, new people, and new opportunities to come into our lives. Loss can be a sign that we are shedding the old, making way for the new, and evolving into the person we are meant to become. However, to embrace loss as a natural part of life, we must first confront our fear of it. We must be willing to face the discomfort of uncertainty and trust that our worth is not tied to anything external. We must learn to detach our identity from the things we fear losing. Our worth is inherent and it cannot be taken away by external circumstances. No matter what we lose, we remain whole. Freedom comes when we accept that nothing in life is permanent. We cannot hold on to people, places, or things forever, and trying to do so only leads to suffering. But when we embrace the impermanence of life, we can move through it with greater ease. We can appreciate the present moment, give love without fear, and pursue our dreams with courage, knowing that we have the resilience to handle whatever comes our way. When we no longer fear loss, we free ourselves from the chains that keep us stuck. We stop living in a constant state of anxiety and start living in alignment with our values and desires. We become more open to change, more willing to take risks, and more willing to let go of what no longer serves us. The chains that once bound us to fear are broken, and we are free to move forward into the unknown with confidence and courage. So, the next time you feel the grip of fear trying to hold you back, remind yourself that fear of loss is just a story you've been telling yourself. It's a story that can be rewritten. You have the power to free yourself from its chains by embracing change, letting go, and trusting that whatever is meant for you will not pass you by. You cannot lose what is meant for you, and by releasing your fear, you open yourself to the fullness of life that awaits. One of the most powerful truths we can internalize in our lives is that we are enough, exactly as we are, regardless of the things, people, or circumstances we might lose. Life is a series of gains and losses, relationships that fade, opportunities that slip away, possessions that we part with, and dreams that don't materialize as we imagined. And it's easy to believe that when we lose something or someone important to us, we lose a part of ourselves in the process. We may feel diminished, less whole, or less worthy, but the truth is you are enough regardless of what you lose. Think about it for a moment. Your worth is not tied to the things you possess or the people in your life. It's easy to get caught up in the belief that who we are is somehow dependent on the external aspects of our lives. Whether it's our career, our relationships, our achievements, or our material possessions. We may convince ourselves that if we lose any of these things, we lose a piece of our identity. This is especially true in moments of loss where the pain and grief we feel can distort our sense of self. self-worth, leaving us questioning, am I still enough without this? But our true worth is inherent, not defined by external factors. It is not determined by who stays and who leaves, who loves us or who doesn't, what we accomplish or what we own. Our worth comes from within. We are worthy simply because we exist, and no loss, no matter how significant it feels in the moment, can take that away. In fact, it's often through loss that we come to discover just how strong and resilient we truly are. When we lose something or someone, we are confronted with the opportunity to reconnect with our own inner strength. While it's completely natural to feel pain in the face of loss, it's also an opportunity to reflect on what really matters. The deep, unshakable truth that our worth does not diminish just because we experience hardship. We are not less worthy because we face challenges. In fact, we are worthy precisely because we face them with courage, grace, and the capacity to heal. One of the most important aspects of this understanding is letting go of the belief that we need to prove our worth to others or to the world. So often we go through life seeking validation, whether it's approval from others, recognition for our work, or affirmation through relationships. We believe that if we can just get someone to stay, if we can just succeed in our career, if we can just achieve the right goals, then we will feel worthy. But the truth is, these external affirmations are fleeting. People change, circumstances shift, and achievements can sometimes fall short of our expectations. But what doesn't change